What time do you have to be out of here?
That's recording. This is recording. Oh, come on.
What's wrong?
It's not connecting on Facebook. I don't know. Okay. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially live. Welcome back to the Sober Grind podcast. As always, my name is Austin, and I'm joined by
Pej!
We have an amazing topic for you today that hopefully is helpful for both you and your family. Get some clarity and get the help that you need.
That's right.
Today we're talking about addiction and alcoholism as a family disease. So Pej, why don't you explain a little bit what that exactly means and maybe go into your history a little bit if you don't mind.
Okay, so, obviously family dynamics, family disease. When it comes to addiction, a lot of people think that it's just the addict that has the problem, the addict or the alcoholic that has the problem, and they don't realize that in reality, it is a family disease.
Yeah.
The addict and alcoholic obviously either comes from some kind of upbringing, whether it be around a family or certain people, where they imitate their environment, or they act a certain way due to the fact that their environment may be uncomfortable. There may be a number of things that's going on in the household. There may be violence. There may be a lot of verbal abuse. There may be actual trauma, that people are dealing with in their household that is an ongoing thing where, a lot of people may have sexual trauma. They may have, they may experiencing a lot of families arguing with each other, going at it, and then so they're raised in this type of environment. And what does somebody do to try to escape that? They may go after using and drinking. So in my case, like for example, I come from a Persian family, and growing up in that family, there was a lot of high expectations. When you're a Persian, your parents usually want you to be a doctor or a lawyer. And when you turn out to be a drug addict or a drug dealer and a drug addict all in one, that's a total taboo in our community. So you're looked down at, especially when there's high expectations of you and who you are supposed to be, and then you go down that dark path. For one, a lot of families, especially Persian families, don't want to believe that their kid is a full-blown addict alcoholic. For two, if they have any idea of it, they don't want anyone to catch wind of it because, don't you know that we have large egos, so we don't want that to get out. We don't want people to find out that our kids are on drugs or alcohol, so they try to hide it, or they'll even be oblivious to it and kind of just pretend like, there's an elephant in the room, but pretend like there's nothing really going on. So when I got sober, the place that I went to, and I was blessed, luckily there was a very strong family program. It was a multicultural family program, right? And what was expected of the family members in order for them to be in the treatment process with their kids was that that they had to be just involved in recovery as as the addict alcoholic, as I did, right? So it was funny, like our counselor would send people to certain particular meetings, recovery-based meetings for the families, and they would have to get their slip signed to prove that they were also involved in going to work on themselves and their own personal issues. That way, when they come together to be with us, the addicts, alcoholics that were in treatment, the scale isn't shifting to where we're getting more recovery and they're not. We wanted to be able to be even so that we can all kind of work together in union.
So you think it's a necessity to really have the family involved to ensure the success?
It is absolutely necessary. The problem is that a lot of people don't get well because the families don't get well.
Right.
A lot of people, they go into recovery and sure, like they're out of their element. So they're in a whole different environment. They're around a lot of people that are recovery based. They have a new support system, and it's all good. It's all strong. But the second that they're getting out of treatment, if they go back to their same environment, the old environment, back to their families' homes, to wherever that may be, it's like going right back into the lion's den. It's where they used to use, where they used to drink, where they used to experience all the turmoil. The arguments are there, the blaming, the shaming, all of that stuff that goes on. So they go right back into that. And what do they know better than to end up using and drinking again, because they don't know how to process those emotions. Not everybody gets well when they go to treatment, and then when the families don't get well at all, or the families are still the same, and you go and be around that, it's very likely that a lot of that relapse rate will increase due to the fact that there's no family work done. So it is a total family disease.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick pause here. We have a couple comments. Firstly, thank you all for tuning into this and checking this out. Hopefully it's helpful for you, helpful for your family. If you have not checked out the Sober Grind podcast before, I would highly suggest it. This is actually the 15th one that we've done. So if you want to check out any of the past topics or episodes that we've discussed, there's a link in the description of this video. Click on that, check it out, subscribe, leave your thoughts.
I see a comment made, I think it's on Zan's account, but I believe it's Earl. Hi, Earl. Doesn't it look like we're on the news? We're like newscasters now, talking about recovery.
We are in space. We're just missing the helmets. We've evolved. We can now breathe up here. Hi, everyone. Peggy in the house. And says hi. Hey, say hello, everyone. I probably don't know you. You're all Pej's friends. Say what's up. I'd love to talk with you. And if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Ask questions. Feel free to ask questions.
Ask questions.
In relation to the family disease, as far as, the family dynamics that go on. Ask any questions. If you have any questions, we'll try to answer them for you.
Let's pick Pej's brain. Lori says she needs some prayers.
Okay, I'll say prayers for you, Lori.
We are with you. Glad to see you both. Lori, I am glad that you are here. Max says, what's up?
Hi,
How
Max.
are you doing, Max?
Doing good.
All right, let's keep going. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to just leave them in the comments, and we'll get to them as soon as we can.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
For this week's Sober Grind that's going to be on the podcast, we have a testimonial for somebody. Who is that going to be?
We don't just yet,
So
but we will. We'll be recording it
You'll
today.
be recording it today?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I believe it's with female?
It could be, yes.
Okay.
Female rock star?
Oh, yeah. In my eyes, she's a rock star. Recovery ninja.
Gotcha. So can we talk a little bit about enabling? When does that kind of come into the picture, and what is the, if you're a parent of an addicted loved one, how do you know that you're enabling? When does it become enabling, and what should you kind of pay attention to?
Well, often a lot of parents are very oblivious to the fact that they're enabling. They may not even know the term, you know, until they do it enough times, and then they try to get their kids help, and they learn this term enabling, and sometimes they go right back to enabling. They're very comfortable in doing that. A lot of parents like to be in control. They want to make sure that they have their eye on their kid. They want to make sure that they're keeping track of their kid, and by doing that, they're harboring basically somebody who's in their addiction at their homes, right? So it's very sad, because that's exactly what is keeping kids back. See, a lot of kids there's all different types of kids, and they're raised in different type of family units. Some are raised in very wealthy households, some are raised in average households, and some are raised in poor households. No matter what, though, whatever's going on in that kid's life, when they get into addiction or when they get into alcoholism and they're still living at their parents' house, but they're living that same lifestyle, if nobody does anything about that, you're basically putting fuel in their fire. So a lot of the kids, they don't move forward in life. They don't get desperate enough to the point where they can seek recovery because the parents won't let them. It's all too often where I see no growth in somebody who is even introduced to recovery because their parents just continue to enable them. I mean, let me just say this right now. In the last couple of days, I've been working on a few different cases. I've been doing some interventions with families that we get it all set up. We have it all going fine and dandy. Everything's going good. Family says they're on board with everything, right? To the point where we even have put somebody in treatment. But unfortunately, when the person gets out of treatment, the family suddenly, even though they promise that they'll do everything that we say, they totally go against it, and they let their kid come back into their house because they feel like if they don't have their eye on the kid, that the kid may go out and die. You know, but in reality is when you're keeping the kid in your house and the kid is still using and drinking or begins to start using and drinking again, you bring them back in there. It's not like they're not dying in your house; they're dying slowly, right?
Right.
So you're enabling them, and it's sad and it's scary because all too often we hear that somebody overdoses in their parents' house. You know, and why is that? Because that kid, even with all the different things that you've been suspicious about, is getting away with still staying at your house. Retreats to the bathroom all too often, is in there for hours, and you're always wondering, what is he doing in there? What is she doing in there? Well, you know, if you've found certain things like burnt tin foil or burnt spoons or needles, for that matter, there's a serious problem going on here. And if you're keeping that person in your house without actually addressing the problem and getting them the proper, appropriate help, then you're enabling them. Yeah.
Gotcha. Let's dive into, before we get to the questions, keep leaving the questions, guys. We will get to them, I promise you. Let's talk about interventions a little bit. I know you work a lot in that field. You do a lot of interventions.
Right.
When do you feel that it's necessary for a parent to reach out to a professional interventionist? And dive into a little bit about your experience, what you've seen, how that helps families.
Okay, that's thank you for asking me that question.
Absolutely.
I think that since Earl's watching me, he is my supervisor. He's the one. He's the master interventionist.
Hello, Earl. Earl, if you're watching, we need to get you on the show. We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you on here.
We'll get you back on here. But so usually, you know, there's a lot of times when families actually do a family intervention. Right, I hear about people going to treatment or going and seeking recovery because the family comes together and they try to intervene on their loved one. Sometimes, you know, families don't know how to go about it. They can cause a ruckus within the intervention within themselves if it's just done by somebody who's not a professional, because there's nobody to really be a mediator to kind of like tailor the whole thing from start to finish and show them how to go about it, and the do's and the don'ts and what to say and what not to say, because you know you say the wrong things or if you actually come into it like angry or trying to go at the individual, you're probably not helping them much. You're hurting them more, or you're scaring them off, or you're, you know, and then on top of it, you have an enabling person that keeps on letting that person stay. Well, everything you're trying to do for this person is not going to help them. So, you know, sometimes families, they run out of options. So what do they do? The best thing that they can do is to reach out for somebody to be an interventionist, somebody who's actually a professional, who's been trained in this type of work and who can come in and set it all up in advance and know the person's history and get the scenario and get the family history and see how the family members have been affected and who would be effective to be in the intervention and how they can get that, you know, everybody to get all their ducks in a row. Everybody needs to be on the same page,
right,
in order for it to be an effective intervention. And an intervention has never failed, even if the person doesn't get the actual help or go into treatment or whatnot. As long as the intervention is happening, it plants a seed within the individual that you need help.
Absolutely.
And maybe your life is not really working out for you, and you might want to think about getting help. But also, in order for an intervention to be really solid and to really work, is if the family becomes firm. You know, there's a way to be very serious, but go about it in grace. In other words, you give them options, and the way the interventionist can tailor that is by saying, look, these things aren't working for you in your life, and we can't keep on keeping you in the house. You got to make a decision here, and this is like, you know, your turning point. You can either get the help, and we will provide you with the appropriate place through the interventionist. They'll set it all up for you, or you have to go. You know, and that's the toughest thing for parents. That and I was just talking to Tom this morning about, you know, he said if it was my daughter too, like, it would be really hard for me to see her hit the
Absolutely.
streets. You know, obviously,
Absolutely.
no family wants to see their kid dying out on the streets or get that call where
Yeah.
the person has passed away. But once again, you know, keeping them in the house isn't going to save them either. They'll never grow if you don't let them go. So an interventionist can help with all of that. And often, you know, people need to find the appropriate interventionists. There's a lot of people out there that call themselves interventionists, and there are actual people that are doing really good work out there. And I know who some of them are.
Thank you for that, Pej. I'm going to take a moment here. We're going to read some questions. If you want to learn more about interventions, we actually have an earlier entire episode about it. So check that out. Click the link in the description to learn about more about all the finer aspects of interventions. Or you can always reach out to Pej, give him a call. All right, let's see. So Tina says, how can you find a program in your state that incorporates the whole family?
A program that, okay, so as far as like a treatment type of program, I would imagine she's asking. This is a good question. You know what you could do is you could contact me and I could try to find you something that's appropriate in your state, whether it be an outpatient service. You know, I could actually do a little bit of research or have somebody from my team take a look and see what state you're in and see, we could reach out to certain individuals. We have a lot of connections in different states, you know, so there may be an outpatient where that provides a family program. Those are always really effective, or an actual center, and then we can see how you can go about that and getting into there, whether you bring your loved one in as a patient and work together, or just do it, you know, as on an outpatient basis.
That's great.
Thanks for the question, Tina.
Yeah, thank you for these questions, everyone. Solange says, I hope I pronounced that right. All I see in families is materialism over love. Unfortunately, sometimes.
I mean, with a lot of families, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lori says, I'm experiencing that materialism over love right now with my mother. It's heartbreaking. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's all too common.
Yeah.
Keith says, what's up? What's up, Keith?
What's Jeff saying?
Jeff says, Pej, a friend of mine has stage 4 cancer, currently in hospice. Can you all believe and pray that God will take away the cancer and take him quickly so he doesn't suffer? Absolutely. Your friend is in our thoughts.
I'm praying for Jeff. I'm praying for your friend. I myself beat cancer last year. You know, it's possible.
Amazing.
God is big.
Absolutely. Let's see. Gloria says, Jeff, I will pray for your friends. That's awesome. Let's all help each other out with this. Okay, Keith says,
without sugarcoating it, most times the family needs an intervention themselves because they have no idea that oftentimes they are a huge problem as well as addicted party needing the help. Perfectly said. So let me real quick get into that. So, you know, I'm just going to say this right now. There's, like I was just saying a second ago, there's a couple of families that I've been working with lately where they'll take all the instructions, you know, at face value. They'll be like, okay, sure, yes, I'll do this. Yeah, no problem. You got it. You have my word. You have my word. You have my word. All of a sudden, there's a sudden shift. We get them to a certain point where everything is going in the right direction, and all of a sudden, they will completely change their tune. So what will happen, because maybe somebody in the family, just out of experience with some of the people I've been working, somebody in the family suddenly thinks, no, maybe this isn't a good idea. Let's hold back. Maybe they don't need to go to treatment. Let's keep them in the house. They're doing better right now. They're behaving. Addicts and alcoholics are manipulative. Let's not forget. They know how to behave. They know how to act right. So somebody will shift the tune, or they'll say, let us find them the place.
Right.
And you can still come in and do the intervention. Well, now you're taking over.
Right.
You're basically trying to dictate how to do the intervention. So that's the time when we have to actually move in. And now we're not thinking about the addict alcoholic. They are who they are, and they will be who they will be, right? Now we need to intervene on the actual family members. And the family members are often, you know,
a little harder, a little more difficult.
I'm trying to use the right words. I don't want the family members are often extremely codependent.
Okay.
Let's just keep it in clinical terms. They're very codependent. So they just have this thing about them where If they don't get what they want, they're not going to be happy, and usually they're never happy, right? So even if we put the person in treatment, the family members sometimes are falling apart. I'll say this right now: family members need to work on themselves for their own problems. Sometimes the family members are extremely addicted to their addict, alcoholic loved one, right?
Yeah.
That it's just plain as day. It's simple. That's the way it is, but they don't see it. You know what I mean? And they're trying to fill something within themselves by constantly saving their child. They think that they're saving their child, but really they're not helping them. They're hurting them more. So we've had to intervene. We've actually had to put family members in their own respective form of treatment, whether it be for codependency. I've seen people go into treatment for primary codependency. You know, people that are just overly codependent to the point where it's dangerous, right? And families need to be intervened on all the time, especially when they want to switch the tune of an actual intervention for somebody that needs help.
Gotcha.
See, the coffee just hit me on that one because I was like,
Well, I think we covered a lot of ground today. Thank you all for your questions. If you're listening to this after the fact, or if you're watching this video or wherever, continue to leave your questions or email them to us. We'd love to answer them in a future episode, maybe even do a specific topic on your questions if you have suggestions. So send us an email either at pej@beginningstreatment.com or myself, Austin, AUSTIN, at beginningstreatment.com, and we would love to help you. That is our mission. That's why we're doing this, to spread awareness and to help as many people as possible.
Right. There's two more things I wanted to mention.
Oh yeah, please.
So we have a Facebook page called Ask an Addiction Specialist.
Absolutely.
You didn't talk about this already, right?
Not yet.
Okay,
no.
so it's a Facebook page. It's in the little bar right there. It's actually written down. The link is
I believe it's in the description. If it's not,
you
let
could
me
always
know,
type in Ask an Addiction Specialist.
Yeah.
You can come on there at any given time, whether you're in your own addiction, whether you are newly sober, whether you have a loved one, a family member that's suffering from addiction. You can come on to our page, Ask an Addiction Specialist on Facebook, and ask any questions that you want. We always have a professional that will be, in a timely manner, they'll get to you and will answer your questions, however that may be. There's also people in recovery that are on that page that have some experience with recovery that they would be happy to answer any questions that you have. On top of that, April 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Yes.
If you are a person that has been sober for a while, or whether you are or not, even if you aren't, if you are totally normal, but you want to help people and you want to become an interventionist, we are hosting, Beginnings Treatment Center is hosting in Orange County, California, then intervention training by Earl Hightower, where you can receive...
It's going to be amazing.
30 units towards becoming a certified interventionist, and you will also receive 2 years of supervision by Earl. You can go ahead and send me a message and I'll tell you about the costs and all that, but it's coming up on April 13th, 14th, and 15th in Orange County, California, Santa Ana, California. That's where the training will be. So if you ever think about becoming an interventionist, I think it would be an ideal thing for you to sign up and be taught by the best of the best.
Yeah, so how quick is that filling up, by the way?
It's filling up, but there's some open slots.
Some open slots?
So
right.
yeah.
Don't wait, just in case. You don't want it to fill up.
Yeah, let me know. Would love to hook you up.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again so much, as always, for checking out the Sober Grind podcast, whether you're watching this live, watching the video, or listening to it anywhere on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you prefer your podcasts. We are so happy to have you here. Thank you again.
Thank you. Did you wait a second to end it so that it would catch up?
Yes.